So let's kick off our show there, and let's kick off our show with Jalen Ramsey. It's unknown whether or not the Rams want to get rid of him, dump his salary, all of that stuff. But if they do, Detroit is a landing spot. And if they do, Detroit has already laid the foundation of recruiting Jalen Ramsey with Amon-Ra St. Brown going on a podcast and saying, come to Detroit. Basically, that's what he said, right? The only way for us is up, is what he said.
Mm-hmm.
So, Eric, would you trade for Jalen Ramsey?
I absolutely would trade for Jalen Ramsey. I have been very vocal about the necessity of a player like Jalen Ramsey. Now, be clear. He is a player that you don't trade everything for. I'm not giving the kitchen sink for Jalen Ramsey. While I do think he could be a great upgrade for the secondary that is littered with young players, young, inexperienced players, I think a guy like Jalen Ramsey shores up that secondary immensely. I believe in today's NFL, you don't necessarily need a lockdown secondary to be successful or at the top of your defense. I believe a strong front seven with an experienced back 4 or 5 is what you need to truly succeed with a defense in the NFL. So I think looking at Okudah, who I think maybe be better suited in a number 2 spot, Jerry Jacob being a 3, maybe they draft another guy like Christian Gonzalez or Witherspoon or whoever else they go after. I still think you need a Jalen Ramsey veteran type star-esque player to shore in, whether it's a guy like Ramsey. I've seen Marshawn Lattimore's name thrown around from the Saints because they're going to have to do some cap unloading. I think those are 2 guys that should be at the top of their wish list in terms of the Lions. So I absolutely would be trading for Jalen Ramsey if I could.
I agree with you. Like you said, only if the price is right.
Yeah.
Okay, because here's the thing. I looked at his contract. He's going to make $17 million in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cap hit of $25.2 million, and if he's not on a roster, he's going to be 32.1 dead cap. Okay? But he has a potential opt-out going into the 2024 season.
Right.
So that's got to factor into the decision.
Mm-hmm.
The only way I'm trading for him if it does not involve the number 6 overall pick.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that either.
I would give up the 18th overall pick because I'm planning on drafting a wide receiver, or not a wide receiver. God, Lord, I'm not. Especially after last week, I am not planning on drafting a wide receiver at 18.
No.
But I am, like, every mock draft that I have done, corner's what I'm targeting at 18.
For sure.
So if I trade the 18th overall pick for Jalen Ramsey, yes, there's going to be more involved in that, right? There might be one of our second rounds, maybe our 3rd round pick, something like that thrown in to sweeten the deal. Maybe a future, draft capital as well to get him. I think that you have to pull that trigger.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do that. If the Rams say, "Hey, give us 18, give us your 3rd, and give us a, 2nd round in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at least negotiating that for sure.
Yeah.
But what is untouchable is the number 6 overall pick.
I'm with you.
Because then if I trade for Jalen Ramsey at 18, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then with 6, if one of my defensive lineman guys or front 7 guys is not there, guess what's going to be on the shopping list? Or guess what's going to be on the offer list, I guess is the better way to say it, right? Like, hey, teams, you want number 6?
Yeah.
You want the quarterback that somebody hadn't taken? Trade me for
down.
it and get more, trade back. Because in looking at, like, our DSN draft Bible that I've been compiling and all that, the plethora of defensive front 7 players that are available in these drafts that are going to go late 1st round, 2nd round, 3rd round, it's immense. You can get impact players there. And if you can, I love it. I mean, graded out as almost an 80 in PFF and coverage for Jalen Ramsey. We know he's a top corner.
Mm-hmm.
The salary goes down in 2024. If he stayed on the team, it'd only be $14.5 million. And then for some odd reason in 25 it jumps back up to 15.5 million. So you're not really breaking the bank to have this guy on your team.
Right.
And I don't know, I would love it. I think it would be great. We'd have to find Deshaun Elliott a new number, but I think those things can be worked out.
He's 28 years old, and it kind of lines up perfect with the Lions. Okay, their Super Bowl window. Would you agree that their window is probably around like a 3-4 year window?
Yeah,
maybe
3
not
to
even
4 years. It probably not 4. I would say like 2 to 3.
Cool.
Like next year
problem.
they take a step forward, and then 2 years you got to go.
No problem.
That's the window.
So around then is basically the last really prime years of Jalen Ramsey, on top of the fact that his contract is going to be up after the next 3. So if let's say the Lions go to the playoffs, win the division, and they're showing promise, he's going to want to come back. I don't see him leaving after a successful boost of a year with Jalen Ramsey. And I feel like okay, let's take that number 18 pick. If you take that, it's more of a risk and a gamble to me drafting one of those rookies and waiting for them to develop than taking one of those experienced guys like Ramsey as a plug and play dude. Hey, bunch of young guys here. We need your presence. We need your demeanor to add on to what we got going. I think it's a perfect fit with the timeline, with his skill set, and what this roster is set up for. I think they really have a lot of ammo with that extra first and second, depending on what it would take to get him. So, yeah, I think that would be worth dealing for him.
What's a scenario where would you be willing at all to trade number 6 for Ramsey?
No way. I mean, unless, okay. Only if the guys on my wish list are not there. If the D linemen are gone, go for it. Honestly, that's really the only ones I see. I've seen like offensive linemen maybe around that area, but it's not a whole lot of other position or players that I would want. I'm not taking a corner that high. I'm not drafting offense that high. Like, for me, if you have to maybe trade back, but then even again, I still want a prospect out of that early pick. I don't really want a guy that's basically going to be a rental. Like, he's not going to be here for 10 years.
Well,
so,
let me play devil's advocate for a second. And the reason why I want to do that is because there's a lot of mock drafts that have Devin Witherspoon going at 6 to the line.
Love him.
Yeah, and I do too. However, I think that's too high to draft a corner, a rookie corner.
Okudah, we've seen that, yeah.
Right. And that was, Okudah should have never been picked there anyways, but that's a topic for another discussion. Mm-hmm. If Miles Murphy, Tyrese Wilson, Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, and Brian Brisset,
mm-hmm.
if they're all off the list at 6, do you maybe call the Rams and go, hey, Ramsey for 6, maybe a 5th rounder next year?
That we get back, you mean?
We give them the 6th pick.
Right.
They give us Ramsey.
And a late rounder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or I don't know if that's enough value. I haven't looked at the chart recently, but I was thinking like our 6th and a 5th rounder next year, or 6th rounder next year for Ramsey.
Mm-hmm.
Where essentially then again you're drafting you're drafting your corner at 6. It's not a rookie. It's an established guy that has a presence that you know. And then at 18, you get someone like, an Ika from Baylor, or, whoever, Van Ness, if you needed a Van Ness at 18. I don't know. Or even Brian Branch, the safety from Alabama. Like,
Alabama, yeah.
I think they have enough options to make it happen. But do you wait until draft night?
Yeah, that's another question. When would you actually wait to pull that trigger? For me, I'm all for bringing him in. If it's a pick that high, I want it to be somebody that you're trying to invest in for the next 10 years. And they still need players like that. You need linebackers to do that.
For sure.
You need tackles for that. And I just feel like with his window, and again, the 18th pick is the extra pick. So if you want to invest in that, or maybe you finesse him with a 2nd. I don't know. We don't know how much they want to get rid of him, or if they do or don't. We're just saying, if there's a way that maybe you can find a way to like finesse, then go for it. But I wouldn't gamble that high. He's not a type of player I gamble. If I just talked about Marshawn Lattimore. I'd rather give that 6 for Lattimore than Ramsey because he's younger, he's better. He's played under Aaron Glenn before going back to New Orleans. I would much rather gamble on that for Lattimore than Ramsey at this point.
You make an interesting point about investing in the future, but we still have that 18th overall pick, right? So, you're going to get that guy that could be a future piece at 18. Plus, don't forget two second-round picks and a third-round pick, right? 5 picks within the top 81.
Right.
I think there's a ton of options. I think it would be incredible for the Lions to make a move like that.
Mm-hmm.
The free agency starting here pretty quick. I think we're going to get a lot of answers about what their draft strategy is going to be. We really hope that it doesn't involve a quarterback because I don't really think there's anyone worth drafting at 6, in the first round for sure. We'll see. I don't know. If you were to place a bet, what's the likelihood that Jalen Ramsey wears the Honolulu Blue next year?
I ain't gonna lie, man. I think it's kind of high. I might just be tripping, but we know that the Rams and the Lions have been calling and dealing with each other for the past few years. Brad Holmes has familiarity with that organization. He fits. Looking at all the other teams that might go after him, I just don't see that being the perfect. I see the Lions being that perfect destination. They're gonna give you what you want.
Sure.
You're gonna be the man out there. I'm giving it again. You have players recruiting and pitching that. You see guys in the Pro Bowl talking about how cool Dan Campbell is. Detroit's a destination out here. That's a fact. We're not just pumping smoke. Who would have thought?
We knew it. We knew it. I mean, we're Detroit guys. We know that Detroit is a place to be.
I didn't expect it this fast.
I didn't expect it either. And truthfully, we know the city in and of itself, it's had its hard times. But we love this city. This is a great city. There's a reason to be here. Yes. Especially when the Lions are good. And the Lions are pretty darn good.
Yes, in a bad NFC. Come on.
Fan-freaking-tastic. It's going to be exciting. April's right around the corner. I mean, we've got Tigers baseball and the Pistons ending their season, and the Red Wings making a playoff push as well. Oh, yeah. April's getting March and April are going to be exciting. It's great. It's great, and there's going to be a lot to talk about. That's why you need to continue to tune in to Beyond the Box.